Okay, so this video is for a blog post on thecultureproof.com. I finally figured out the trick with Canada's economy. Um, Between it being a socialist government and a socialist government system and a sort of like market economy, Canada's economy, I'll tell you the um, the financing in Canada. If you want any type of financing, like to buy a house or start a business, it's as easy as the financing in the United States, and actually it's practically the same. Going by credit score or going by what have you, venture capital, whatever, it's exactly the same. But so it's just as easy to get financing in Canada as it is in the United States. But I'll tell you something, it's still a socialist monopoly. So in the United States, right? If you get the same amount of financing, you can literally work your ass off to pay the money back and to make money. But in Canada, if you get that same financing, a lot of like socialist monopoly restrictions. So you just can't work your ass off and start a giant company or something. It's impossible. Or like a medium company or like a small company. Because this ultimately, okay, imagine this, right? In terms of telecommunications and cable service, there's basically only like maybe like 2, 3 companies, right? Or newspapers, national news, only 2, 3 companies. And then you might start like a small magazine. You might start like a small newspaper, or like a small telecom or whatever. You become really just a reseller of those those giants. It's not like you can go out there and buy. It's impossible. For the most part, it's impossible. I wouldn't bet on it. Like, if you want like a middle class life, like you want to be a trailblazer, go ahead. But I wouldn't bet on it. So what I'm saying is like, okay, so you're like, what about Elon? Everything's American. Like Elon created like an app, right? Like the PayPal thing, right? And American bought it. And then Tesla and everything else he bought, like Solar City, it's all American. SpaceX is all American. Why doesn't he start Solar City up here? Like, there's solar here. He can't. It's a small market and it's socialist, and that means start a business kind of has to serve the government, has to serve the goals of the government, so like the country. And yet, in order to get financing, it's just as easy to get in the United States. So it's hard. It's hard. What else? What else am I gonna say? They're predicting a real estate meltdown in Toronto or in Canada, and it's because people have taken out HELOC, what they call like home equity lines of credit, sort of like second mortgages. About 20% of the population who own homes. 20% of homeowners in Canada have taken out second mortgages because of ballooning real estate prices. And if there's a meltdown, could be up to 20% of those borrowers, or or non-traditional borrowers who took out like zero down loans or what have you. Well, around 20%. And then what else? What else? Because I raised some issues, right? And that creates some questions. So one, financing and credit is just as easy to get in the United States, but the market is socialist, and some areas it's monopoly. All right. So unless And if you're so like just more capitalist, just like leave me alone. I just want to go out and sell my ass off, like sell, make. You'll be disappointed. That's the big difference. Up to 20%, if there's a real estate bubble, up to 20% can get caught because 20% have taken out second mortgages, otherwise known as home equity lines of credit. Private personal debt is 150% of their take-home pay. All right, and then I was going to address something. Oh yeah, regarding home ownership rates, uh, in U.S. versus Canada. In the U.S., it takes you guys longer to own a home, but by the time and Canadians start younger to own a home, but by the time Americans are 35 and Canadians are 35, the rate's the same. And then as they get older, more Americans own their home and fewer Canadians own their home. So Americans catch up to Canadians in terms of in home ownership around 35 years old. But by 55 years old, you guys keep on going. Whereas Canadians start falling down. Fewer older Canadians own their home. More older Americans own their home. At 35, the home ownership is practically the same. And then Americans keep rising and Canadian homeowners drop down. But Canadians start off strong. It's like, track and field. You've seen track and field. How come some people get to start way up there and some people way back here, right? It's because they're on a slope, right? But as they race, it doesn't really matter. Just because you're on a slope and you start way up here and the guy at the bottom way back here, at the end of the race, anybody can win. So what happens is Canadians tend to own their home quicker, sooner, a younger age. At 35, Americans and Canadians are equal. And then after that, Americans just keep on going up and Canadians start dropping down. And what's tricky about Canadian economy is you can get credit, loans just as easily as an American, except in some markets, it's socialist, monopoly, all that stuff. Duopoly, monopoly, oligarchy, certainly not meritocracy. You know what I mean? It's not the Autobahn of the American economy. So, say two business people take out loans, same size, same interest rates. The American have a better chance of surviving. Canadian, bigger chance of defaulting, depending on their industry and all the rules and regulations having to do with socialism. All right. And if there's a real estate meltdown, about 20%, because that's the amount that has home equity line of credit, second mortgages. And that's why private household debt is 150% of take-home pay. So I think I answered all the questions that on my blog that I sort of like started in on. And if you ask Wayne Gretzky what the CHL or the OHL was like back in his day, even though he left school early to start his NHL career, did he get a chance to study? Okay. Have a good night, kids.